on in. Sit back and relax. You're listening to episode 254 of the WealthTech Today podcast. This podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. My guest for this episode was Matt Middleton, founder and CEO of FutureProof. Now, Matt started his career at Informa, which I think where we originally crossed paths. He was there for almost a decade in various roles in management and corporate strategy responsibilities, but he also had commercial responsibilities, focusing on audience growth, sponsorship, and advertising, which was the perfect testing ground for him and set him up nicely for launching the FutureProof conference in 2021. Now, FutureProof has quickly become the world's largest event brand dedicated to the modernization and advancement of the wealth and investment management industry. Now, Matt and I spoke about three things. One is redefining growth in wealth management. Second is the expanded capabilities of their breakthrough meeting application, which they launched at FutureProof last year. And a little bit of a preview of what to expect at this year's FutureProof Festival. But before we get started, let's talk about tech stacks. Now, at Ezra Group, we have seen literally hundreds of tech stacks for RIAs and broker-dealers. And let me tell you, most of them are loaded down with tech debt. And let's face it, tech debt acts like an anchor, holding back your RIA's efficiency and ability to scale. Now, if you want to free your firm up for exponential growth, you need to run, not walk, to our website, EzraGroup.com, and click the golden Contact Us button on the homepage. The experienced team at Ezra Group can evaluate your current tech ecosystem, deliver targeted recommendations, optimize your existing systems and operations, or even run an RFP and help you implement new software to get your firm to the next level. Now, you can take advantage of our free initial consultation by going to EzraGroup.com. All right, a couple quick housekeeping items before we begin. First of all, please subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. Check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. And we're coming up on the annual gala for Invest in Others, which I will be attending. It is in Boston, the evening of Thursday, September 19th. So if you are in Boston or plan to be in Boston that time, you can go to investinothers.org and see if you can score yourself a ticket to the annual gala. All right, let's kick this thing off. All right, I'm honored to introduce our next guest. It is Matt Middleton, founder and CEO of FutureProof. Matt, so glad to have you here.
Good to be here, Craig. Returning guest.
Yes, returning guest. Back on the podcast once again. Hasn't had enough. Wasn't beat up enough the last time. Came back for more. Matt Middleton. Matt, where are you calling in from?
Just outside Boston.
Nice. We're both on the East Coast. So I'm in New Jersey, and I think it's just starting to rain here. We're getting that big Florida rainstorm coming up our way. But we're gonna power through in this podcast. We're not gonna let the weather stop us.
Better than the humidity we've been having, right?
Oh man, killer. Absolutely killer. All right, let's start off, if you could, for people who may not be aware, give us a 30-second elevator pitch for FutureProof.
Yeah, so FutureProof is the world's largest events business dedicated to modernizing the wealth and asset management industry. So we host a series of events. We've pioneered new event formats. We do things entirely different. If you go to our website or have experienced our events, you'll know what I mean by that. They're vibrant, they're modern, they're casual by tone. What's most important, I think, if you kind of look under the hood, all of our events are tech enabled, which means we could focus on providing better connectivity amongst all of our attendees than anyone else in the industry. And so we do that through a whole series of networking programs, which we call Breakthrough, which I'm sure we'll get into later on.
Yes, we will. Don't jump ahead. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about FutureProof a bit at the end. But what I wanted to start out with was some of the things you're seeing because of the unique position you are, sort of the nexus of a lot of ideas around wealth and asset management. I wanted to ask you, what is growth uh, as related to our industry, and how do you think it can be facilitated? Well, first of all, how do you break down growth in our industry?
Yeah, so we were talking about this a little earlier. I think, one of my pet peeves with our industry is that we catch on to things that sound good and we all just regurgitate them across. And you'll see that in media headlines, you'll see that in conversations, you'll see that on, conference stages. And growth is one of them, right? Growth has been, if not the main thing that we've all been talking about for a series of years. But when you actually sit there and try to define it, if we asked 10 people in our industry, what does growth mean to you? We'd get 10 different answers. And so, the way we look at it through Future Proof as a large platform that has content and community is we should help to better define what growth is to each individual and firm that is in this ecosystem. And so to me, the way we look at it is, and you'll see this come across through our sessions in September, we look at it as an early stage. When you think about growth, it's all about building the right culture. That's, I mean, quite literally recruiting or how to create compensation packages, right? When you start to get the next stage up, it's what does your technology stack look like? How are you building operational efficiency, right? The third leg is when you think about, I've done the first two parts, right? I have a great team. We have a good company culture. We're successful. We're using technology effectively. We're operating at scale. We're afforded the next level. Well, what does that mean? And I think that becomes, unique to a lot of different people, right? As a founder or CEO of a firm, I look at it as leadership, right? Most of the time you're kind of in the trenches. Your sleeves are rolled up. Every day is different. As a founder and operator myself, I could speak to that. But there is a level of growth and scale that affords you the ability to think more strategic or force you to think more strategic. And
Mhm.
so what does that mean? How do you become a leader? Right. And Cheryl Penny talks about this a lot is, moving from advisor to CEO. Like I strongly believe that we need to have more, education around that. And so, if I had to simplify it, I would say there's not one real definition. And to each individual in the industry and each firm as an identity, growth means something different. And so for future proof, while quote unquote growth is one of our big, trends that we're trying to build the event around, we try to actually think about it as a question. How do you define growth? Right at you as an individual or your firm, what's your ambitions? And if we could then drill down to a series of topics across 4 days to provide you access to helping you define that, then we've done our job in furthering kind of your career. So that's what I would say about how we think about growth. My biggest issue again in the industry is this. We just lean into growth, and growth can mean strategic capital and M&A. Growth could mean, company culture. It could be simply marketing tactics, right? Like I just, I scaled my business based on YouTube. Like that's a tactic. That's not growth.
Mhm.
So I think just I would urge people in our industry to kind of look in the mirror and try to define, well, what does actually growth mean to me? And then am I taking the necessary steps to educate myself or partner with people to ensure that that growth happens?
One thing we see a lot with our clients, again, we're on the technology and operations side to facilitate that growth, but they are trying to expand. You mentioned YouTube. They're trying to look for different distribution channels and bring on older, more established firms are looking to bring on younger advisors who may have these non-traditional ways of attracting clients. Are you seeing any ways that firms can better integrate those very, disparate ways of approaching growth?
Yeah, so I think look, there's a few different things that I'm seeing when I speak to wealth management firms. Um, and it's a wide spectrum. The biggest thing I would say is I see a lack of marketing capability at firms often.
Mhm.
I think marketing as a function is something that really hasn't been prioritized in our industry. And you could say that's due to a lot of different reasons. The fact that most asset growth and client growth historically has come from referrals is a reason why. Compliance risks, another reason why. Lack of marketing just generally across financial services is another reason why. But the reason why to commit to changing that narrative is for all the what we saw the last decade, the rise of social media, the rise of education and content being plentiful across and distributed across, the internet or, through our phones. And so there's tremendous opportunity to increase your client base, or rather appeal to a differentiated client base by leaning into some of these, sophisticated marketing strategies. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, go recruit someone because they're an influencer on YouTube, or they could create a video that, could, scroll on TikTok. But what I would suggest people do is, take a hard look at their business today, how they've established themselves, and what their trajectory is, and think about the levers they could pull to get to those different growth areas. And if that means we see a huge opportunity in targeting millennial clients, like net new clients, well, then you have to be tech first. You have to have a more modern approach to your messaging. Your team has to look more diverse and be more diverse, right? These are obvious things that often get overlooked. If you're an existing business that's looking to retain your clients and you service maybe retirees today, well, there is going to come a point in the next several years where the decision-making capacity of that client is sent down to the Gen X, the millennial, or the Gen Zer. And these are all people that are tech savvy or tech first individuals. And they're not going to want firms or advisors that feel like they are dinosaurs.
Mm.
I don't care how trusted, my parents thought you were. They're going to lose that. And the data shows that, right? There was a Y charts, and I'm going to butcher this, but there was a Y charts survey done last year, which showed that 75% of clients in the transfer of decision-making, existing clients, changed advisors. 75%.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you invest to protect your existing client base? Yep. Not even talking about growth opportunities and new clients. So to me, I think marketing as a function and understanding really who you are, meaning what your firm does and who you serve, should dictate how much money you invest into that function, who you bring on, the type of specialty they have, as well as taking a hard look at what's your staff look like? What's the age of your staff? We all talk about this. How do you, the big issues, oh, we need to get younger people into this profession. And it's a profession that, we don't do a great enough job at college. Like, no, we're all to blame here on an individual sense. Like, we all have the capacity to bring in interns and expose them to this space, right? To educate them. But what we think is they're too junior. Imagine putting them across from a high net worth client. But guess what? That high net worth client probably has kids and is doing the same and is looking for an intern, for an internship for their, son or daughter. And so I just think there's this tendency in our industry to say, like, you need to be of a certain style, age, sophistication level. And the reality is we're all just people, and people are flawed, and money is sensitive. And so if you could provide an outlet to these folks to help solve that need, you will naturally grow your business. But most of the time we look at the business through a spreadsheet and we forget that we're managing people and their financial lives.
Yeah, I see it all the time. And your point about, marketing strategy is spot on. A lot of firms we see have a lot of marketing strategies, but then those different strategies aren't really aligned under one overall strategy. They're just trying a bunch of different things and seeing what works.
Well, because look, we all learn, we see someone else doing it successfully. Look, it's like the thing in your house. If someone in your neighborhood, gets their kitchen redone, you're like, oh, wow, I think we need to get our kitchen redone too. And so you're constantly, looking over your shoulder. And so as an industry, what you'll see, and it's changing now, but what you've seen for the longest is most of everybody's websites looked very similar. The verbiage we use on our websites and in meetings were the same. And you create this jargon, right? This filler, this, nothing's unique. That's the opposite of marketing.
Right.
Marketing and brand is designed to stand out. What do you make people feel? Right. And I think what we do is we think we could throw money at this and it's immediate fix. And that's either using an agency or or hey, we just got a new logo, now more clients are going to come, or hey, we hired a PR firm and we're now, we get a soundbite in media. Like, it's all of that. It's not
Mhm.
one thing. And I hate to break everyone's heart, it's over a longer time horizon.
Mhm.
So for you to quantify that, it's going to take you years, but you have to trust that that is where the puck is going, because every other industry operates like that. And we shouldn't
Yep.
be slow to these, not even trends, these transformations of how people like to communicate and to be served.
Yeah, and that's a hard sell to many RIAs, especially legacies that have been in the business for 10 or more years, that you need to, it's more the message, not the tech. If you don't have a great story, it's going to be difficult for you to get that across to prospective clients.
Yeah, look, I say it in a good example with Breakthrough, right? I always said, like, everyone wants to, oh, tell me about your technology. If I have to explain my technology to you, it means the technology is not great. Because if I have to lead with the fact that we have technology, like, everything's tech enabled, or everything should be tech enabled, right? You have BlackRock and Vanguard identifying as a technology company, not an asset manager, right? And so you're seeing this world where, like, tech is just the base case. It's not an edge on anything anymore.
Mhm.
And so when you think about how we are growing as an industry and evolving as an industry, you should be talking about the problems you solve,
Mhm.
the friction points the technology removes,
Right.
the transformation, the journey, right? You are here. This is where it will take you. The tools and
Mhm.
how we get there, that's for us to, that's what you're paying the service for.
Mhm.
But if I have to lean in and, tell me here, let me explain my technology to you, or our, process and this, like, you're not making it simple anymore. And I think we all
Exactly.
get lost in that. We all want to sound more sophisticated than we actually need to be.
Mhm.
Our technology, our industry, our role is more important or more complicated. And the opposite is true. You should want to simplify that to your client. You should
Mhm.
want to show them where you are and where you'll get to by working with me. It's that
Mhm.
transformation and that journey. And, like, look, I think that's where we've managed to stick out with Future Proof and with the Breakthrough platform. It's a very crowded event space. And look at our audience. We're talking about these folks, right? These are wealth managers. If we built what we think the wealth manager wants, it wouldn't be future proof. It would look more like all the other events in the
Right.
industry.
It'd be current proof.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? And then look how fast we've been able to grow, the satisfaction rates we've been able to achieve, the NPS scores that we have. It's the same audience.
Mhm.
But 5 years ago, everyone would have been like, don't do that. That's a silly idea. Our industries wouldn't enjoy that. But it's
Right.
quite the opposite. We've made our industry fun and dynamic.
Mhm.
It's not saying it lacks sophistication
Right.
or, executive level people, or it's, not serious. It's all
Right.
of that plus. And I think that's, as an industry, we should be thinking about going.
Well, since you brought it up a couple times, let's talk about the breakthrough platform and how that's going to help firms grow. And there's been a lot of change. You were in the podcast last year, and we talked about breakthrough because it just came out,
Yeah.
and I have to say it was a big hit at the event last year. People were going nuts for it. So let's talk about what's new in breakthrough this year.
Yeah, sure. So, at this time when we were speaking last year, we were just introducing Breakthrough, which is, for anyone who hasn't experienced Future Proof or the Breakthrough meetings program. It's a networking platform that allows us to leverage technology to better connect the attendees of any particular event. And so how we do it is we basically collect around 120 data points off each individual attendee. This isn't this black box of data capture or anything like that. It's simply saying, give us enough data so that we could display that data to others. And hopefully, based on that, you guys then could decide whether you want to meet either in a one-to-one basis, learn together in a roundtable discussion, or experience an activity together based on your job title, the type of company you are, etc. And so there's all these qualifiers that allow us to create better networking experiences. And so we announced Breakthrough as a platform for last year's Future Proof Festival. and we opened up one program, which was the Breakthrough Meetings program. And it was quote unquote our beta year. We managed to facilitate or pre-schedule rather 17,000 meetings. So it was just over 17,000. We facilitated just under 17,000 meetings. More importantly, we had a 98% meeting satisfaction rate. So to me, when I look at it, there's a lot of event technology that, talks about meetings and access and all of this. And I've used them all over my career. They've never hit the mark in being able to provide that experience that all attendees desire. Not just buyers and sellers, but attendees of all types, the peer-to-peer networking, which in a post-COVID era should be the main reason you travel to an event. And that is my thesis for why we are building this, is because we sit at a time where most events prioritize content. They pay the big name speaker. They tout the keynotes. That's a byproduct of events. It's not the most important thing. You and I are filming a podcast. It's both video and audio. Someone's going to be able to, when this gets distributed, to listen to us, and I apologize in advance, but they're going to be able to listen to us on demand while they're lifting weights, running, in the shower if they so desire, right? You get access to influential people, the smartest ideas with a click of a button. Why would you ever leave your office, leave your family, travel around the world to be a passive listener of content? And I don't want to hear it because of CE credits, because again, you could go and get your CE credits by just clicking a button for one day and complete that for the year. So what we did is, what is our events going to be? Well, our events are going to prioritize experience, and that's going to be the unique differentiator. But more importantly, if we could fast forward to 5 years into the future, and you were asking someone else, not me, who has attended Future Proof, and saying, what is Future Proof to you? I would want them to say, Future Proof is the number one networking platform in our industry for me to further my business. And so we build that way. And so Breakthrough last year was a meetings program, which was again beta, but at scale. And it proved to be wildly successful in terms of what we anticipated, but also meaningful for the audience. And so we quickly decided that we wanted to expand the networking experiences offered there. And so we ran or announced the Future Proof Retreat, which ran earlier this year in Colorado Springs. And we introduced 2 more programs in addition to the Breakthrough Meetings program, Breakthrough Talks program and Breakthrough Experiences program. I'll give you kind of the 10 seconds on those. Breakthrough Talks is modern roundtable discussions. Roundtable format as content has been around for decades. There's nothing new there. What's new with us is, again, we use technology and verified data to better connect people at those tables. So the pain points with roundtables is you opt into a topic. When you sit down, you don't know who's across from you, left, or to the right of you. How much better would that conversation be for everyone at that table if you all knew either that you were all of a similar category, meaning we represent a similar company type, you have a certain function or a certain job level or if you're from a certain company size, meaning that if we're talking about growth, as we talked about earlier, we could have a topic on growth, but we could have 20 tables where each of those tables would be different substance in terms of that discussion. That's what Breakthrough Talks are. It's roundtable at scale. So you can anticipate for this upcoming festival, we'll have morning roundtable sessions that run 100 to 200 roundtables concurrently. So the same feeling you saw with the Breakthrough Meetings last year, where it felt like a herd of people coming in all at once, then sitting down, and then after 15 minutes, you have 3 minutes and everyone scurries and then sits back down. We'll have that in just educational roundtable discussions.
Excellent.
The big piece there is that we are trying to get to people to be more active participants of content. So anytime we could do that, it's better, because we believe that if you are at an event in person, you have something to say and value to provide. And so we want to encourage people to do that as much as possible, whether that's on stage to audience, audience to on stage, or through these tech-enabled roundtables. That's Breakthrough Talks. Breakthrough Experiences is more lively and more robust. Breakthrough experiences could be anything from group activities. So for the retreat, what we've done is zip linings where 15 to 20 people could sign up and have a memorable moment with their peers, hosted by industry sponsors and such. Or it could be as something as like skincare and beauty care. And so these are activities that are either fun, dynamic, out of the industry to break up the monotony of the day, or they could go deeper into content. So they could be workshops or niche down areas for professional development or personal development. And then they could be everything else in between. So all of the details that happen at night, networking dinners, receptions, hosted parties, what have you, as well as the morning workouts. It allows us to basically refine who's in that room or in that area and focus on what their hobbies and interests are. And then again, better connect industry peers based on who they are as people. And so we're going to be bringing in these 3 programs this year. The Breakthrough Meetings program is back. Last year we did 17,000. We're anticipating 30,000 plus meetings this year, which is pretty wild. The space has gotten much bigger. We've helped with the sound quality because I know that was a piece of feedback last year.
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah. And then the Breakthrough Talks will have on Monday and Tuesday mornings. This year, we're running it as a beta, and so it will be offered only to the financial advisor and limited partner ticket holders. And the Breakthrough Experiences, it will be a whole host of things from level up, content on the fairgrounds to, food and wine tastings off-site. People will be able to sign up for it starting August 16th and pre-select and opt into it. So we're excited about it, and we only see it growing and being a huge staple to how we grow the future-proof business.
Yeah, I thought that was incredible. I took some pictures because no one would believe that there'd be 300 people in 3 separate tents, all having productive meetings.
1,800 people.
1,800, right? But at one time, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we had 900 tables.
Right. It was
2
insane.
people per table. So
Right.
yeah.
It was just crazy. So great to see you guys expanding that and doing more. And I'm very interested to see the breakthrough meetings and the talks, those roundtables. Having moderated my share of roundtables, love to see how the tech-enabled ones grow. But let's move on. We got a little time left. I want you to be able to talk about what to expect in Future Proof. Let me just give, for anyone who hasn't gone, it's such a wide range of sessions, all in the same place. For example, you can go to futureproofhq.com and go to the agenda on September 17th, just that day alone. Interview with Joe Lonsdale, Tech's Transformation of Wealth Management, The Destiny of Demographics, Brewing and Blending Coffee Masterclass, interview with Jeffrey Gundlach, Optimizing Health, Wealth, and Mindset, Mastering Public Speaking, Organic Growth Myths Exposed by a Top CMO. That's just up to noon. You've got that. Oh, and then the Bill Krager talking about the industry right after that. So what a crazy amount of different topics and ideas all in the same place. So why would you go to 5 different conferences when you can go to one and get all this together?
Yeah, and that's our thinking. It's, it boils down to our industry is evolving quite a bit. Instead of focusing on a certain area of the industry, like most events do, right? It's an investment conference, or it's a tech-only conference, or it's a practice management conference. Bring it all, because we are building this for the wealth managers whose businesses aren't, easy and linear, right? These are folks that are facing real problems, have real challenges, need to talk to them with their peers, are also looking for recruitment and opportunities, are trying to level up personally. And so the way we looked at it is, let's create a differentiated program. Let's create content and formats that are short and punchy. So we remove the filler and the fluff. Let's really help people. But again, let's bring experts there that not only come onto the stage and then jump off the stage and go onto the plane, but actually want to interact and engage. And so they could provide the value on stage, quickly come off, and then you could have a real insightful conversation with those thought leaders to help further your business or whatever that is that you're trying to accomplish there. And so, yeah, it does feel like we're, there's no real true theme to it, but that's the nature of what it is. It's a variety of topics, a variety of speakers, short, punchy formats designed to create more conversation on site. And as you saw it, the benefit of where we are in an entirely outdoor setting, there's no, ballroom A, ballroom B, this floor, that floor,
That's
dark
the
old
bane of
thing.
my existence. I go to 12 or 13 conferences every year and trying to find these huge event spaces where the breakout sessions are is like a treasure map.
Well, that's also sometimes why people don't step into it. They're like, "Oh, I'm already 5 minutes late to that. I don't want to be that person walking in." But we have 5 dedicated content areas, all within, yes, a larger footprint now, just in the
Mm.
growth of the event, but it's easy and accessible. And you could also quite literally just walk up to it and hear it versus feeling like you're fully committing to something. And I think that's the beauty of what this is you could be having a coffee and a conversation with someone while both of you are engaging into this, content on stage.
Mm.
And that's what really makes this special is we have very influential people, senior decision makers, all very open to sharing both on stage and off stage.
Plus, it's all on one level. So I can look across and look and see, hey, there's something going on down there. What's going on over there? I can just walk in that direction and go see what's happening.
Yeah.
In a normal interior, gigantic conference center, it's all walled off. I can't see what's going on in another session.
There's also like a human psychology element to it too. Well, you're naturally getting vitamin D throughout the day, right? So one, if you're coming for the first time, bring your sunblock. We'll
Mm.
have tons of it there,
And a
but
hat
and a hat, yes, and some sunglasses.
and sunglasses. Yeah.
But there's a beautiful thing to that is like you're in this natural element. You're mostly dressed in, I would say casual type wear. And that's everyone from the CEO of Apollo down to a 24-year-old just entering the space. And guess what? That CEO of Apollo is going to be more casually dressed, which means they're more approachable and they will actually
Mm.
give you the time. I think that's the thing about this industry. We idolize these people because of their successful careers and we call them the titans of industry and all of this. And that we develop this persona of them in our heads that they are guarded off. As an industry, we have that, right? It's, and I think we're almost like unboxing that as saying that's not true. And you have some of the more influential people in our space that are willing to pay it forward and share their thoughts, give you feedback in the same way that they also want to learn from you. And I think that this cross mentoring is really important as an industry as we see this, generational shift occurring where you're seeing, millennials, older millennials now are in, management and decision making roles and they've come up a certain way versus the baby boomers of the past. And then you have these baby boomers and, later Gen Xers who have basically blazed the trails in wealth tech and the REA space.
Yes, you're welcome from Gen X to all of you out there.
Yeah, but
You're
it's
welcome for us blazing the trail.
but it's a beautiful thing to see, some of these, again, like industry leaders, wildly successful folks, Bill Krager as an example, sitting there. It's not like, oh yeah, you thanks for inviting me to speak. I'll get on stage and talk about some
Mm.
trends. No, he comes, he's at the concert, he's talking to everyone, and he's just approachable. And I think
Mm.
that's really, if I had to boil it down to what makes Future Proof the experience special, it's something that we couldn't manufacture. It's the community coming together with this openness and a view of the future. And we're just the ones that get to steward it.
And on that note, we've run out of time. So, Matt, where people listening who don't know about Future Proof, where can they find out more information?
Yeah, go to futureproofhq.com. We'll have a list of all of our events there, and we hope to see you at one of the events in the future.
And one more event, one more session that I love the name of. I think the name of the sessions is so important. I spend a lot of time when I'm moderating panels coming up with a great session title. This one, it's on the same day after lunch. I'm not a doctor. I'm your wealth manager. It reminds me of it's like Star Trek, Bones. I'm not a doctor, damn it. I'm not a
That's
wealth manager, damn it. I'm a doctor. I'm not a
that
doctor, damn it. I'm a
that's
wealth
actually
manager.
exactly how I wrote it with that thinking. It's so funny you brought that up. Yeah, I mean, but look, that's a big issue nowadays, and not to get on a somber moment, but like my father-in-law just had suffered multiple strokes, a young guy, had wasn't expecting, and our whole family's kind of in turmoil figuring it out. He's on his road to recovery, but it financially, professionally, time, it puts a huge strain on it. And
Mm.
unless you experience that and have gone through it on a personal level, it's hard to prepare for that. And as wealth managers, managing now the financial lives of your clients, like you're asked to do a lot more. And
Mm.
so we should have a discussion around, well, what is that? I mean, how do you educate and help people plan for that. And it's not just about longevity and people living longer. It's the other side of that unfortunate situation too.
Indeed. Thanks for sharing that. So everyone, futureproofhq.com, sign up. I'll be there. You'll definitely see me. You may see Matt. Possibly. He's a very busy guy at the event, but it's definitely one of my favorite events. And I go to a lot of events in this industry. So Matt, thanks so much for being on the program.
Craig, appreciate it. Thanks.
Hey, it's Craig again. And here are my top 3 takeaways from this episode. First, Matt kicked things off by redefining growth in wealth management. He talked about 3 key areas for growth: early stage, mid stage, and later stage. Early stage being building culture, recruiting, and compensation. Mid stage, technology stack, operational efficiency. And later stage, leadership development and strategic thinking. And he also mentioned that marketing capabilities are often lacking in wealth management firms that are trying to grow. We then moved into the expansion of their breakthrough application. Now, this was introduced in 2023 with the meetings program that facilitated, I was surprised to hear this number, 17,000 pre-scheduled meetings at the Future Proof event. It was wild, I have to tell you, watching all these meetings go off, hundreds and hundreds of them all at the same time, and all working like clockwork. Now, new for 2024, breakthrough talks. These are tech-enabled roundtables with 100 to 200 concurrent sessions. I'm looking forward to jumping into some of those. And then breakthrough experiences, which are group activities, workshops, and networking events. Their goal for 2024 is 30,000 meetings. Just mind-boggling how they have really changed the way people interact at conferences. And finally, speaking of conferences, the Future Proof Festival is coming up next month, September 15th through the 18th in Huntington Beach, California. There'll be a diverse range of sessions: wealth management, technology, personal development, etc. It's outdoors, which allows for easy movement between sessions and spontaneous interactions. Plus, it's beautiful out. Now, last year, it did get a little hot, but not as hot as 2 years ago. It was in the hundreds. It was just in the low 90s or high 80s, which, when you're on the beach, doesn't feel so bad. It did rain for about 5 minutes, I think, on Sunday, but that's hardly a problem. A casual atmosphere. They focus on short and interesting content that spark conversations. And there's 5 dedicated content areas, all within walking distance. Plus, all the vendors have their own little tents and little setups and kiosks and things set up. There's lots of things to do. And also the food last year, I'm not sure, hopefully doing the same thing this year, is all by food trucks. And these are some really good food trucks. So I wouldn't say go all the way to California just for the food at the conference, but if you're going to be there anyway, why not take advantage of some great food at a conference? All right, you've done it. You've reached the end of another episode of WealthTech Today podcast. But before you go, please head to our website, EzraGroup.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you'll receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and updates. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.